Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're diving into a set of sources around a story that, well, it's a piece of fiction that became a kind of undisputed fact in its own world. We're pulling apart the secrets of Riley Sager's novel Home Before Dark, and of course the house at the center of it all, Bainbury Hall.
And right away, we are hit with this fundamental conflict that really drives the entire narrative.
Yeah.
This isn't just about, is the house haunted? It's about whose version of the story, whose history actually gets written down and believed.
It's the accepted truth versus the personal truth.
Exactly. The public believes this paranormal story, hook, line, and sinker. But the protagonist, Maggie Holt, she is completely certain it's all just an elaborate lie.
And she is someone who has had to carry the weight of that lie her entire life. I mean, her whole identity is shaped by this house and by the book her father wrote. She lays out the conflict for us with this just devastating opening line.
She really does. She sets the mission statement for the whole novel right from the start. She says, ours is a ghost story. It's also a lie. And now that yet another person has died within these walls, it's finally time to tell the truth.
Wow. So the stakes aren't just her reputation.
No, not at all. It's life and death.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We need to unpack these two competing histories. On one side, you have Ewan Holt's book, House of Horrors, which the world accepts as fact.
And on the other, you have Maggie's story, which you could call the House of Secrets. We need to look at what people think happened during those few days at Bainbury Hall and then, what the real cost of that story was.
Okay, so let's start with the public story. The fame. The lie.
Right. So Ewan Holt's book, House of Horrors, it wasn't just a success. It was like an instant bestseller, a worldwide phenomenon. Our sources are very clear on this.
How do they classify it?
They call it the most popular real-life account of the paranormal since the Amityville Horror.
That's a huge comparison. Amityville is the benchmark.
It is. So that immediately puts Bainbury Hall into that same, pantheon of great American horror stories.
What's really astonishing to me, though, is the timeline, the speed at which this all happened. The Holt family moves into the house on June 26th.
And they flee in the dead of night on July 15th.
20 days.
20 days, that's it. Think about that, less than 3 weeks. That's all it took to create a story so terrifying it became part of paranormal history. They didn't even last a month.
And the thing that kicked it all off, it's just wild. It wasn't some big press conference.
No.
It was a single weird detail in an official police report.
Yeah, Ewan Holt told the police officer the reason they left was because the house was haunted by a malevolent spirit.
Just that one admission.
That's all it took. That was the spark. A reporter for the local paper, the Bartleby Gazette, sees it, picks it up.
And from there, it goes to the wire service.
And it just explodes.
Nah.
The sources say that within 2 weeks of the family running away to some cheap motel, an editor from New York is on the phone with a huge book deal.
And that book deal becomes Maggie's lifelong burden. I mean, as an adult, she says she's not famous.
No, she's notorious.
Right, and that notoriety completely shapes her life, which is so ironic when you look at what she actually does for a living.
It's the ultimate contrast, isn't it? She's a designer who restores old houses, but she sees her job as being, and this is a quote, in many ways a historian.
She wants to find the real stories, the real memories.
Exactly. The pencil marks charting the growth of children or the wood once trod by soldiers, the authentic stuff.
The truth hidden under all the layers. So when she's faced with people who just adore her father's book, she has absolutely no time for it.
None. She states her case very plainly to her dad's lawyer's receptionist. She just says none of it happened. Everything in that book is a lie. She's adamant that her father made it all up.
Which is the polar opposite of her father's public image.
Oh, completely. He had his charming public stock answer ready to go at all times.
Every word of that book is true. I swear to the great almighty.
Yep, the great performer.
Ewan performed the story, and Maggie had to live with the consequences. So let's dig into that performance. The specific events in the book that Maggie says she has absolutely no memory of.
This is where it gets really interesting, because the book is full of these incredibly terrifying moments, things you would think are impossible to forget.
Like what?
Well, Maggie questions why she has no memory of being hauled to the ceiling by an invisible force.
Okay, yeah, you'd remember that.
Or being choked so hard by something that it left handprints on my neck. I mean, these are deeply traumatic physical events that the book says happened to her when she was 5 years old.
Which brings up a really good question. If these things did happen, is she blocking them out? Is it amnesia? Or is her skepticism, a defense mechanism?
That's a key point. The book basically forces her to question her own mind, but let's look at the cornerstone of the whole haunting, the entity that's introduced in the prologue.
Mr. Shadow.
Mr. Shadow. This is from July 1st, so just a few days after they moved in. Ewan Holt describes this conversation with 5-year-old Maggie. She's scared, asks him to check for ghosts.
The classic kid request.
Right, and he does the whole dad routine, the ghost check. He looks under the bed, finds dust, a sock, checks the closet, which he thinks looks like something from a storybook cottage. Nothing.
But then the focus shifts, right, to that big piece of furniture.
The armoire. This massive 8-foot-tall thing with all these carvings of cherubs and ivy on it. Ewan even thinks it gives the room a touch of literary magic.
He compares it to Narnia.
He does, which is so symbolic. The armoire is often a portal, right? Here, it's a portal to the horror that he's about to sell to the world. He opens it, it's empty, but Maggie is still terrified.
And that's when she drops the bombshell. Ewan tells her ghosts aren't real, and she just says,
"You're wrong. I've seen them all the time, and one of them talks to me. Mr. Shadow."
so chilling. And it's not just that there's an entity, it's the message.
That's the hook. Ewan asks her what Mr. Shadow says, and this 5-year-old girl supposedly delivers the line that becomes the foundation for the entire book.
He says, we're going to die here.
And whether that was real or something Ewan invented, that one line launched a phenomenon.
Yet adult Maggie, the historian, is so fiercely anti-paranormal.
Oh, completely. She believes in science. She dismisses ghost believers as people who will believe anything. She actually lumps them in with people who think Michael Jackson is dealing blackjack in Vegas.
She has this great line. She says, when we die, our souls don't stay behind, lingering like stray cats.
Her skepticism is, I think, how she survives. If she has no memory of the events, and she doesn't believe in ghosts in the first place, then the book has to be a lie. Her father has to be a liar.
And holding on to that belief has had real-world consequences for her. It's the price of being the author's daughter.
A huge price. She talks about dealing with obsessive House of Horrors fanboys who literally track her down.
And her dating life.
Yeah.
That's just a nightmare.
Yeah, she mentions dates that ended at a cemetery with me being asked if I saw any ghosts among the graves. Her personal life is constantly being invaded by this public story.
It just never goes away.
Never. She was even invited to a big horror convention once, not as a special guest, but to do a meet and greet right next to one of the kids from the Amityville house.
Wow. So she's just seen as part of the package, a piece of the horror brand.
Exactly. Forever tied to this trauma she is certain never even happened.
Okay, let's shift gears to the inheritance, the legal side of things, because this is where the story takes a major turn. Her father dies, and Maggie learns she's the sole beneficiary.
Right. And the book is still selling, at an agreeably modest pace. It gets a spike every year around Halloween.
And it might become a TV series.
In fact, her father never even told her. It's also really telling that her mother, during the divorce, refused to take any of the book money. She said, "I don't want any part of it. I never did from the very beginning."
So at least one of her parents saw the money as tainted from the start.
Mm-hmm. Maggie gets the rights to the book in about $400,000, which is a lot of money, but it doesn't quite feel like the full extent of his assets.
No, you'd think there'd be more after all those years.
And that's the setup for the huge reveal. Maggie just assumes her father lived in a New York apartment, so she asks the lawyer, Arthur Rosenfeld, about it.
And he drops the bomb.
A massive one. He tells her the primary asset isn't an apartment, it's Bainbury Hall itself.
Just stop and think about that. The house. The terrifying house they supposedly fled in terror from 25 years ago.
Maggie's floored. She asks, "My father owned Bainbury Hall," and Arthur just confirms it. As far as I know, he never sold it.
That one fact just changes everything about Ewan Holt. For 25 years, he's been selling this story about his family's desperate escape from a place too dangerous to live in.
While secretly owning it the entire time.
The cognitive dissonance there is it's profound. It suggests his real commitment wasn't to protecting his family, it was to preserving his story.
By holding on to the deed, he kept Bainbury Hall frozen in time. A perfect shrine to his lie. No one else could move in and say, "Hey, this place is fine."
He controlled the narrative because he controlled the property.
Right up until the day he died.
And then comes the moment where it all becomes real for Maggie. The lawyer passes her the keys. One for the gate, one for the front door.
Such a powerful physical symbol of this toxic inheritance. And the weight of those keys is made even heavier by the last thing she remembers her father saying to her.
His deathbed warning.
It's not safe there, not for you.
So he warns her away from the house with his dying breath and then leaves it to her in his will. It's the ultimate betrayal.
Absolutely. So now she owns the very house she was taught to fear. A house she believes is built on a lie, but a house her own father said was a threat.
As she puts it, all its ghosts, whether real or imaginary, are mine as well.
So we've looked at the structure of this powerful lie, how it completely overwrote a family's history. We've seen the incredible cost of that fame on the daughter who had to live in its shadow.
And we've explored the moral failure of the man who got rich off his own family's manufactured trauma.
It all brings us back to Maggie's identity as a historian, as someone who wants the truth. So for you, the learner, the question isn't just what secrets are in the house, it's why. Why did Ewan Holt hold on to that property for 25 years only to pass the danger, real or not, on to his daughter?
Right. If it was all just a story, why not sell it and take the money decades ago?
Exactly. Keeping it suggests the house itself held some kind of power over him, or some kind of real threat. He never let go of it.
And that leads to a final thought about memory itself. Maggie says her own memory of that time is tainted, that it's like looking at a photograph of a photograph. The framing is off, the colors are dulled. So when you think about your own past, your own childhood, how much of what you know to be true is your own raw memory? And how much of it is based on a story someone else told you over and over again? It's something to think about, that line between history and hearsay in our own lives.